Hello everyone, I'm Alexander Abad and I will be sharing some information related to 5G social impacts. There are four buzzwords currently circulating in our society. They are the AI, IoT, 4IR, and of course 5G. 5G is the buzzword in the world of mobile and digital communications right now. Some experts believe that the evolution in digital communications happens every decade. For example, in the year 2000, we have the 3G, while in 2010, we have the 4G. They said that this decade, 2020s, is the era of 5G. And we are now in this era. When we talk about 5G, most often than not, three other technology-related buzzwords come along. These are the Internet of Things, known as IoT, the Fourth Industrial Revolution, or the 4IR, and of course, the artificial intelligence. These three help each other, complement each other, together with 5G as their information superhighway to improve our society. Experts believe that 5G will connect virtually everyone and everything from the smallest sensor to the biggest industrial machinery. Compared to 3G and 4G, the appeal of 5G boils down to high speed, high bandwidth, low latency for massive machine-to-machine communication. Experts says that 5G is 10 to 100 times faster than 4G relative to speed. It depends on what 5G band you are using. Whether we accept it or not, speed or high speed is the main selling point of 5G from the point of view of consumers. One can easily be convinced that 5G is faster than 4G by downloading an 8 gig HD movie in the range of seconds instead of minutes. Speed is one thing, latency is another thing. This latency is the time it takes for devices to respond to each other over any wireless network. This is known as the device reaction time, or some people, especially the gamers, call this as the ping. Experts say that 3G has around 100 millisecond latency, while 4G has 30 milliseconds, but 5G has around 1 millisecond latency, which is virtually instantaneous communication. To give you a glimpse of how fast is 1 millisecond, it is 100 times faster than a blink of an eye. Aside from speed and latency, 5G has the big advantage of high bandwidth compared to 4G. In a simplified perspective, we can say that bandwidth is related to capacity or how many wireless devices can be connected in a single network for a given time. Experts say that 5G can accommodate 1,000 times more capacity or more devices than 4G. 5G can transmit big data wirelessly in a crowded network or busy places that 4G cannot handle. The combination of high speed, low latency, and high bandwidth leads or bring us to massive machine-to-machine communication, which is a major application of 5G. 5G operates in three different bands of frequency between 600 MHz and 86 GHz. The low band 5G overlaps with current 4G LTE but offers the widest coverage among the 5G bands. Experts say that low band 5G is around 20 times faster than 4G LTE. Moreover, high band offers the highest performance of 5G with top speed of 10 gigabits per second with almost imperceptible latency, but the coverage area is narrow and signal reception or signal penetration is poor. Between the two, there's the mid-band, which is the most practical and more useful compared to the other two relative to the public consumer that can appreciate between the balance of speed and coverage area. Here's another presentation of the 5G spectrum. It can be divided into low band, mid band, high band, or it can be divided in the segmentation using the 3GPP protocol as FR1 and FR2. 5G unlocks the full capabilities of other emerging technologies, including self-driving cars, drones, extended realities such as VR, AR, MR, as well as connecting billions of devices without any human intervention. As shown in this slide are the different 5G uses, covering from the critical to non-critical applications. It covers massive Internet of Things, ultra-reliable low-latency communications, and enhanced mobile broadband. I cannot discuss each one of these, but I will discuss some of it. I would like to share this short video clip from Daisy Su, the 5G lady of Huawei.
There's a lot of hype with 5G, then the reality of what it will bring. It will impact people's lives very broadly, but how? I'm Daisy Ju, the 5G lady. In the industry, everybody calls me that. I've been in the 5G business since 2012. Most people know that 5G is fast, but 5G delivers three things to consumers: speed, cloud computing, and HD video. Put together, it's very powerful. 5G is 10 times faster than 4G. When consumers see the speed of 5G, they want it. So the first killer application is the speed test. It sounds funny, but it's the first application people get excited about with 5G. The speed of a 5G allows your device to be constantly hooked to the huge processing power of the cloud. You can do a lot with 4G, but you need a 5G speed to use computers in the cloud. That may be hundreds of miles away from where you are. And the other key part of a 5G is high-resolution video. Mobile phones already have great cameras, but you can't share HD video in real time or watch TikTok in HD. That's coming, by the way. High-definition TikTok, YouTube, and so on. 5G will bring that soon. 5G will simplify healthcare. Instead of waiting 2 hours to see a doctor for 2 minutes, you will be able to set up a remote consultation. For this to work, you need HD video, and 5G provides that. That way, you don't spread or catch contagious diseases. And it encourages patients to consult a doctor while their problem is still small. We are talking with several universities about deploying 5G on campus. The schools want to enhance the student experience with virtual reality, holographic projections, and providing remote education in HD video. The speed of a 5G and the power of a cloud computing simplify VR and makes it cheaper. Headsets become smaller and lighter with 5G, and they simply connect into a 5G phone. The VR market is about to take off. Over 7 million VR sets shipped out in 2019, but we are expecting 40 million sets in 2023. This will lead to more apps coming on the market. Another thing that's really taking off even sooner than VR is 5G cloud gaming. 4G smartphones can handle the more complex games. Those need a gaming console or computer. Cloud computing solves that. Network operators are optimizing high-end AAA games for mobile gaming, and when you save, it's in the cloud. That means you can start a game on the computer and continue it on the smartphone. Those are some of the things we can already expect from 5G for consumers in the near future. But there's a lot more we can't imagine. Few people saw that 4G would give rise to the sharing economy with apps like Airbnb, Uber, and the bicycle share schemes. 5G will improve our lives in predictable and unforeseen ways. At Huawei, we provide the connectivity that makes it possible.
As a researcher, I'm also interested with 5G applications, especially in the world of extended reality. We call it the XR. I'm more focused on the virtual reality that we call VR, and also in haptics and spatial AI. This is an emerging area of research. I'm focusing on high-resolution haptics for immersive experience, which will eventually and hopefully contributes to the growing 5G technology for teleoperations and telerobotics. "5G will enhance the world of extended reality. This extended reality can be in the form of virtual reality or VR, augmented reality or AR, and mixed reality, which is a combination of VR and AR. 5G will enhance the immersive experience due to its low latency, high bandwidth, and high speed. I would like to share another short video clip related to mixed reality application using HoloLens or HoloLens 2 from Microsoft, introducing the Microsoft Mesh.
Connection is a spark that gives our lives meaning. It drives us to seek out others who feel the same way.
Okay, why don't you input the data and we'll take a look together. Hey Mari, what you got for me?
To find those who share our views, yet offer different perspectives.
そうですね。Look over here.
Challenge us with new ways of seeing,
That I think we should.
deepen our understanding, and enrich our lives.
最后一笔的时候，往前。
Great things happen when we commit to something bigger than ourselves.
Let's take a closer look at it.
Place this here. Let's see how we go from there, okay?
This sense of collaboration and the feelings of connection it brings excites us.
Hey, just in time. I'm gonna move it slightly, okay?
It's yours, take it.
We have 2 planes right now on the same trajectory.
As we put people first, technology fades into the background and feels like anything but.
Aisha, what do you think?
I think if we had 330, maintaining 2800, we'll be clear for approach.
Excellent.
This changes the way we see the world, and in turn, changes the world we see.
These numbers are looking great, actually.
There's promise in the possibilities, and what we see and create next will stretch the imagination.
Good morning, Sarah.
Morning.
Slowly coming towards the thumb.
A world without boundaries.
Good job. A lot better than yesterday.
Yeah.
Excellent. Slowly bring
A
the arm
world
down.
where technology enhances, not limits, humanity. With people front, center, and in the spotlight. The future is here. And here can be anywhere. Introducing Microsoft Mesh.
Aside from extended realities application, 5G can enhance our agriculture as shown here. Five G also plays a major role in logistics and manufacturing.
Whether you need to deploy your application workloads across the globe in a single click, or you want to build and deploy applications closer to your end users, AWS provides you the cloud infrastructure where and when you need it. As 5G networks are rolled out across the globe, enterprises and application developers will rely on its advancements in bandwidth and latency to deliver solutions like immersive gaming experiences, smart cities, robotic manufacturing processes, improved autonomous driving, and more. AWS Wavelength brings AWS services to the edge of the 5G network because wavelength zones are infrastructure deployments embedded within data centers at the edge of the 5G networks. Application traffic from mobile end users can reach servers running in wavelength zones without leaving the communications service provider's network. Wavelength zones effectively reduce the extra network hops to an AWS region that can result in latencies of tens of milliseconds or more, allowing customers to take full advantage of 5G capabilities. Wavelength zones enable use of the same AWS infrastructure, services, APIs, and toolsets that you're already familiar with in the cloud. Applications running in wavelength zones have fast, secure, and seamless access to the full breadth of services in the parent region. And Wavelength offers all the familiar AWS benefits like elasticity, availability, and pay-as-you-go pricing. Deploying your application to run on AWS Wavelength is easy. Include the desired wavelength zones into your virtual private cloud on AWS and launch infrastructure resources in the wavelength zone as per your application requirements. Configure your network to access these resources directly from the mobile network. In just a few short steps, you can deploy portions of your application that need ultra-low latency in a wavelength zone. Together, AWS and communications service providers are ushering in an era of interactive applications and immersive experiences built on a 5G edge cloud.
5G will revolutionize healthcare, especially for telemedicine or remote surgery, such as this one. 5G has proven its worth in disaster response. In the coming years, there will be more and more autonomous vehicles on our roads, and 5G will be the critical superhighway connecting them seamlessly and wirelessly.
5G is coming for a super connected world. The car industry is one of the first verticals to take advantage of cutting-edge 5G solution for improving road safety. Huawei is spending significant efforts to bring 5G into the car industry. In June 2017, China Mobile, Saica Motor, and Huawei have jointly conducted the first field trial in China for teleoperated driving. The tests took place in Shanghai. Powered by 5G, ultra-high bandwidth, and ultra-low latency, a person sitting miles away from the car can remotely and easily drive the car as precisely as he would be in the driving seat. With 50 megs per second uplink throughput, the multi-HD video data coming from the car can be transmitted to the driver immediately, while the control signals from the remote driver can also be transmitted back to the car under 10 milliseconds. The driver seems sitting in the car to drive it like people do today. Applications for teleoperated driving could be applied to dangerous environments like mining and construction fields. There are other scenarios where teleoperated can play a major role, such as car rental and car sharing projects. In June 2017, Huawei has also conducted platooning trial in Germany and in China. With 5G ultra-low latency, the control signals can be transmitted from the pilot car to the following cars within 5 milliseconds. It allows the platooning fleet to manage all events, such as the close tracking, the lane change, and the emergency brake easily, thanks to the precise synchronization among all vehicles forming the platooning fleet. Such a scenario will improve the road safety, save labor costs, and lower the fuel consumption by shortening the distance between platooning vehicles. Recently, in Beijing and Shanghai field trials, Huawei has completed a series of 5G new radio tests. The downlink peak throughput has reached over 6 gigabytes per second for a single user. The cell peak rate has exceeded 18 gigabytes per second. Moreover, these field trials have demonstrated that the 5G NR air interface latency is well below 0.5 milliseconds, and the total cell capacity can support over 4 million single cell connections. Let's move forward to a more connected and intelligent world enabled by 5G.
After watching all the videos, you might ask, how efficient is 5G? To answer that question, let's watch this.
5G is nearly 10 times faster than 4G, but higher speed doesn't mean higher energy consumption. Take modern LED lighting, for example. Compared to conventional bulbs, LEDs are just as bright, but more energy efficient. Similarly, Huawei's 5G PowerStar Smart Energy System is packed with power-saving tech. Artificial intelligence, materials, and algorithms work together to manage energy use. Its power requirements dynamically adapt based on user volume, reducing energy wastage. Because of that, Huawei 5G sites save 20% more energy than the industry average. Let's do the math. If 6.5 million 5G sites are deployed worldwide by 2025, it could reduce 43 million tons of carbon emissions. That's the same as planting 380 million trees, which simply means 5G isn't just faster, it's better for the planet.
What's next? As I have said in the introduction, some experts believe that the evolution in digital communications happens every decade. Though 5G is starting to roll out and will peak on 2025, 6G research and development is on the way and will be deployed in 2030s. I would like to end my presentation with this quote from Mark Weiser, the father of ubiquitous computing. The most profound technologies are those that disappear. They weave themselves into the fabric of everyday life until they are indistinguishable from it. Thank you very much for listening.
Do you wanna make a difference and reinvent your world? 네, 안녕하세요 여러분, 김선호입니다. 샌드박스 같은 곳에서 경쟁하는 기분을 느껴보고 싶으신가요? 그렇다면 글로브 5G 해카톤에서 진행하는 워크숍과 멘토십을 통해 5G 활용 방법을 만들어보고 여러분의 친구, 동료들과 팀을 만들어서 디지털 시대 속 필리핀의 새롭고 흥미로운 가능성을 열어보세요. Follow your dream. Register now.
We're speeding into the fast lane with Globe's 5G technology. It's fast, it's fun, it's wonderful. It's Kim Son-ho approved. With Globe 5G technology, the possibilities are endless. It's about time we inspire the youth to create something meaningful, spark reinventions, and improve the framework of the future. That's what the 5G Hackathon is about. Students, professionals, and startups are welcome to join the event by registering using this link. Once accepted, you may enjoy access to the Globe 5G Hackathon HQ, where the enablement workshops will happen. That's 2 weeks worth of fun workshops and mentorship by industry experts from our tech partners. All these to get you to the top. That doesn't end there. Apply what you've learned from the workshops and pitch your idea on how you can use 5G to improve the way we live. The panel will pick the top 30 semi-finalists to join the pitch competition and enjoy exclusive workshops and consultations with mentors. But if you're truly, madly, deeply at the top of your game, you can be chosen as part of the top 10 finalists who will proceed to the Hackathon Finals. 3 of the best pitches will be hailed as winners. What's in it for you? Well, over 500,000 pesos worth of prizes will be given away, plus a chance to be part of the Venture Builders program of 917's Venture Velocity and work directly with Globe 5G Acceleration Lab. This is powered by Globe and Animal Labs by DLSU. Thanks to 5G, we're about to achieve great heights. Click the link and show us what you've got. Get ready to reinvent your power to create change. Register now.
My name is Nestor Disperos, Program Manager for Animal Labs Technology Business Incubator based out of De La Salle University. Animal Labs, by the way, is a major partner of this Globe 5G Hackathon and Workshop. My mission being with you today is to talk a little bit about business modeling for startups, since after all, one of your outputs is to create a business model which eventually you will pitch. Business models rather have been used since 2010, I gather, and so by now the adoption rate has been quite strong. In fact, traditionally for startups, business plans used to be made, but they were lengthy, and even though the narratives may contain the same elements as the business model canvas, doing a write-up can be quite lengthy. So the authors of the BMC or Business Model Canvas identified those 9 important elements, which helps to here describe the rationale of how the organization creates, delivers, and captures value. That's the essence of what a business model is. And the beauty of it is that on one sheet or one canvas, you can see all the elements and how they interrelate, and how every time you make changes based on the assumptions and testing of assumptions and hypotheses which you do, you turn out improvements, because as they say, ABT, always be testing. That's another way of saying that your business model canvas is not a one size fits all or a one time big time thing. You have to be able to know how to keep on continuously innovating on your business model. The create, capture, deliver, and captures of value are imposed against these simple questions here, which are meant to teach all of us. Because when we say create, what do we, the entrepreneur, make that is useful for our intended customer? And of course, why is it useful? What's useful to one customer may not be for another customer. But we need to find out who our target or priority customers are. When you say deliver, how does the product or service end up with that particular customer, knowing that the initial customer one had in mind wasn't actually the customer that you would deliver your value to. And capturing talks about how does the customer make money with this product or service. So these 9 components, or what we call building blocks, are imposed against the key functions of creating, delivering, capturing value. The green-colored rectangles on top are the useful logical points which we start. Remember that in the in the traditional way of doing a business plan, you would do narratives on each of these 9 components and more, actually, which could be a very lengthy exercise every time you have revisions to your assumptions or to your plan. So again, the value of the business model canvas is highlighted here because it really intends to show how one creates, delivers, and captures value. One word before we talk about the building blocks is a quote by Henry Chesbrough, who authored and taught at UC Berkeley and Harvard, I believe, and who talked about disruption, not aside from open innovation, but his quote directly here is that, and this is quite important, especially to what you're doing, working with 5G technologies and other fourth industrial revolution technologies like artificial intelligence and VR. And he says there is no inherent value in a technology per se. The value is determined instead by the business model used to bring it to market. The same technology taken to market, but with 2 different models, will yield different amounts of value. In other words, he's saying that the inferior technology, but with a better business model, will often trump the better technology commercialized through the inferior business model. So that's why every time you determine how the value is created, captured, and delivered, or in other words, commercializing that technology, think about how the value of that is especially enhanced through the business model and less on the technology. So these are the 9 building blocks that we mentioned, presented in one canvas. You can, on the internet, you can simply download exactly this one or an empty blank canvas and fill in the key questions or particular information in answer to the key questions. No, we won't answer each and every question here. The intent is to do an overview of each of these 9 building blocks to be able to help you create your own business model and initial BMC. So you would have the value proposition, which is right at the center, and you would have customer relationships and customer segments on the right, including your channels, and on the left most you would have elements of your infrastructure, which are your partners, activities, resources, including at the bottom your cost structure. The revenue stream on the lower right is also sometimes included as part of the value creation. In fact, it's in our previous slide, that was the capturing of the value through the revenue stream. And there are many, many ways to do that. In fact, the purpose of showing the shaded portion here is to show the logical place where writing up the business model canvas or BMC is done. You would have the first building block identified by customer segments. When you say customer segments, you might have a large market, but you would want to narrow down to what sometimes we call a beachhead market. Beachhead market is defined based on one's strengths and capabilities against the opportunities, or in this particular case, the problem which you identify for your particular segment. It's also called a beachhead because eventually this might lead you to other what we call adjacent markets or secondary markets, which are logical outputs from your beachhead. This could be a mass market, especially if it's highly consumerized. It could be a niche market, but a niche market where one can dominate with his advantage, his or her competitive advantage. Could be diversified or multi-sided, like when Google started servicing more than one customer segment, where they initially catered to individuals who did search and also to advertisers who wanted to capitalize on the growing customer base of Google. So eventually Google started initially as multi-sided market. So who are our most important customers? You will have many, many customers, so that means you have to do the secondary research to find out, for example, things like the user profile. Don't be content with simple demographic, variables, but try to find out what their profile, what makes them tick, what what inherent needs do they have, and eventually developing, if you have more time, studying what their so-called persona is, identifying what their particular quirks, needs, and even hidden needs that they might have. Are these paying customers the same as the users of the product? In an industrial marketing setting or B2B, business to business, sometimes in an organization, the ones who pay, such as the purchasing or the finance department, may not necessarily be the same as the user, which could be totally somebody else. So their needs might always be different. For finance and purchasing, they might be interested in the financial terms of payment, while for the actual user of the product, he or she might be interested in the product specifications. The value proposition, that's right at the center of the business model canvas, seeks to solve those customer problems which you would have uncovered through your own secondary research and primary research, if you have time to actually do customized research, which, by the way, may not necessarily be expensive if you know how. But you're there to back up by your research to satisfy those identified problems, which are actually veiled in as opportunities, because they are actually needs which are either unmet or underserved, with particular value propositions you might have as a result of the benefits arising out of the technology that you are using. So you would want to focus it on the priority or the main customer problem which you're trying to solve, and identify those values which you might deliver, which could be not necessarily features, but also the benefits as a result of those features. It could be a combination of products and or services, or certain solution sets. And of course, with respect to competition, because there will always be competition, you would want to find out exactly how different you are against your closest rival, because in your value proposition, you're basically giving your offer to your customer, intended customer, and say, convincing them why the customer should come to you instead of your closest competitor. And that's only possible if you have a well-defined value proposition. The channels here in building block number 3 talks about how your value proposition is communicated to customers. There are basically 2 dimensions. One could be the communication channel, and one is the distribution or delivery channel. In your communication channel, being able to message your intended customers how they should know about the value proposition that you are offering. You might do it through regular media, or even electronic media or social media. So that's obviously one of the better ways currently, even in industrial marketing, to be able to communicate your proposition. And the other one is, how do we deliver our product or service to your customers? They could be online delivery, or through traditional retailers and wholesalers. There could be specialty stores, or even, especially today, with the market shift of delivery as a result of the pandemic, where you have door-to-door and using brokers and all digital services. Number 4, again, moving on with the customer relationships, which is directly related to your building block number 1, your customer segments. One note on your customer segment. If you have many customer segments in mind, say a multi-sided one like a customer base and an industrial or a business base, my advice is to split it into 2 separate business model canvas. Sure, it's possible to superimpose everything into one, but it gets complicated. So I would advise to have 2 separate sheets, one for each priority customer segment. So when you get to building block number 4, as you define the relationships, how you intend to do that in each customer segment. A hint here is to walk through your customer journey in detail, especially if it's a new product or service, or an innovation on an existing product or service. Try to see you will uncover by mapping or tracking the customer journey in detail, exactly what he or she goes through. It meant expose in your value proposition the actual needs that they want to meet, as well as any pain points, as well as even gains that they would get, or some combination of what we call pain relievers and gain creators as you develop your value proposition. So how do we get or create customers, and how we maintain our relationships with them? This reminds me of the famous business philosopher, Professor Peter Drucker, who said that there are basically only two important things that a business should be doing. It's number one, creating the customer, and number two, keeping the customer. And in customer relations, it's very evident because it's not just a matter of first getting or creating customers, but once they are with you, you need to be able to maintain or retain the relationships with them and build loyalty so that you can grow your customer base. Because even market studies say that it takes about 5 times more to create a customer than to maintain them. Because once your customer stays with you and is very loyal, eventually they tend to tell good things to others about you, thereby expanding your customer base. And not only that, your loyal customers will continue to buy or patronize your services and products. For key resources, these are the core assets that enable these earlier described elements such as your value proposition, your customer relationships, your customer segments. So what are those resources that you need to bring along to be able to enable these building blocks? There are generally 4 dimensions. One is the physical resource. This talks about the materials, certain equipment. The non-physical resources such as your skill levels of your staff, intellectual property, if it really matters. Even branding is an important intellectual property, and the location of your space, if you have a facility, the software that you're using, financial resources, of course, and the most important human resource in relation to skill levels. Okay, the key activities that must be done in order to support what are they? Those value propositions to be able to solve what were known as jobs to be done, the needs that your key customers are trying to solve. They might be trying to relieve certain pain points or gain particular benefits. What key activities that you must do in order to forge your distribution and communication channels. What must you do to establish your customer relationship so that you can, on the one hand, create or get customers, and on the other hand, retain and further grow your customer base? And what are those particular revenue streams that might result? Your key partners is building block number 7 as we move to the left side of the canvas. Talks about, which basically along with your key resources, talks about the infrastructure which you're building up. Your activities must be outsourced because outsourcing is the best practice. Outsourcing is done as a way basically to save money, as long as the outsourcing entity can do it not just cheaper but also better. So a lot of key activities should be outsourced, while some resources might need to be acquired outside of the enterprise. So who are these key partners, if any, to where you might need to forge partnerships or alliances or collaborations, because you can't do everything by yourself. So you need to bring on allies and establish relationships with your key partners, such as your distributors, your suppliers, and other identified sources. Okay. your cost structure. While you are outsourcing to save money, and having the lowest cost structure is really a very big competitive advantage. And after identifying all of that, there are still certain costs that need to be done, especially at the beginning of your venture. One of the important investments you need to make is what's known as customer acquisition costs. Recall that statement I made about Peter Drucker saying that there are only two activities that need to be done. That's creating the customer, that's customer acquisition, and keeping the customer, that's customer retention. But you need to start with creating a customer base by investing in marketing activities. For example, you might be putting up a organic vegetable restaurant, and to be able to let the public know about the availability that you can supply and even deliver, you need to do certain spend in certain activities to acquire a customer. One is, of course, doing all sorts of advertising on the internet. One is doing, say, point of purchase advertising like signages and billboards. So that's part of your customer acquisition costs. But there are also other important costs, such as the right equipment, maybe certain cooking equipment or certain food processing equipment, the land, which might be necessary, or you might, in the beginning, might decide to do rentals, any particular materials, especially the key ones which are hard to source, but which are very important in your production process, your key personnel. Remember that you have to pay them the salary that justify their skills. And there are many ways to do that. Actually, a combination of monetary and non-monetary packages, your marketing, sales, production, any royalties if you are licensing any particular intellectual property, which you did not develop but which is owned by somebody else, but you have to pay licensing or royalties. That's part of your cost structure. So they may be one-time fixed or even variable per unit. So eventually you would determine what your fixed costs and what your variable costs are, and do some simple startup financials such as break-even points, or what some other call unit economics. Okay, the building block number 9, revenues, although here it's listed as the last building block, but revenues is in other business model canvases can be lumped up together with the value creation process, usually after the customer segments and customer relationships. Anyway, these revenues result from successful value delivery. That's based on your value proposition, and your revenue streams may not necessarily be from your buyers or users. That I was pointing out this statement particularly for an industrial setting where you have a business-to-business scenario where the buyer is not necessarily the same as the user, as in the example I gave about finance people who actually do the canvassing and the paying, but the users are entirely different from the equipment we just bought. So how do customers pay us? That's the startup, and how much over their lifetime, the LTV or the lifetime value of the customer. Why is this so important? Because you would want to determine, based on your investments in your CAC or customer acquisition costs, how many times a particular customer would patronize your business over the life cycle, from the time he or she bought and then maybe stopped and probably shifted to competition, but you were able to win him or her back, and now he continued to buy more from you because you already established a long-term relationship where you have a set of customers. Your base is growing, and they continue to patronize and tell others good things about your products and services. So you can make an estimate actually of the lifetime value and compare it as a ratio to your CAC, customer acquisition cost. Obviously, the higher the ratio is of your LTV over your CAC, the better. That's one metric you'd like to look at. And for your services, they could be revenues based on subscription, such as, I don't know, services for Spotify, Netflix, cable. They're all on subscription based. Although one uses a freemium, such as Spotify and Skype. But when you are, of course, the freemium comes with a cost initially where you might be subject to a lot of ads, and which could be looked at as interruptions. But the moment you feel that you're satisfied with the service and would want to, for example, obtain a streaming service which are free from interruptions like advertisement, you could pay a subscription fee. Some could be on a pay-per-use basis, as in those SaaS, software as a service, which is a very viable business model because, especially for SME, small and medium enterprises, they can't afford to pay big amounts for software, which includes things like upgrades and security features, but they would rather be more open to an arrangement where they only are charged based on what they use. Since they don't use it 24 hours a day, they might use it, say, 4 hours a day or 4 hours a week. And that's a very big savings for SMEs. So the SaaS model is a very viable revenue stream. So, of course, I mentioned freemium. The others would be in a retail setting, loss leaders, where one would practically lower the price on certain items as a way to attract customers. And then hopefully when they get into the store or buy from your virtual website, they would also buy other things, particularly if you give, for example, bundling campaigns where you bundle, for example, a lower price item, but they must need to get either more of the same or more of another item, a second item, which the margins of which can cover the losses in the initial item. That's why it's called loss leader. Games could be free to play or pay to play, or even very particular features only, or selected feature that's also customizations, all of that. All right, moving on. I did say in the beginning that doing your BMC or business model canvas is not a one-time exercise. It's not a one-time big-time thing. The next step is actually to list your assumptions and test it, particularly with your identified customer segments, because it's highly possible that the value proposition which you created for a particular segment is not the segment that you should be targeting. It should be somebody else. Or there could be the segments which you intended to serve are actually looking for a different set of value propositions. And it's something that where you could shift, or what's known as pivoting. A lot of that has happened since the past year because of the COVID, where you had startups SMEs especially, who are pressured because of their shortened cash flow cycles, or what's known as financial runway. So they had to quickly pivot to other particular areas where they could generate revenues. That means variation in their business model. For example, there were some equipment builders who started getting into PPEs, or some into medical devices such as ventilators assembled through 3D printing. So there are numerous choices in the selection of building blocks and combinations. Each major change should be matched by adjustments in those other elements because they're all interrelated. That's the beauty of the BMC. Each business model has its own sets of risk and rewards, so you have to weigh it against the assumptions and the new insights that you could have, which could change the assumptions or your hypothesis. The best approach is to construct several and analyze which best fits the team sets of resources, your competencies. So as a team exercise, we could do, for example, 5 different types of business models based on different customer segments and different value propositions. And the relationship could be shown here. If you have a blank canvas of your BMC, you could start writing or using sticky notes. But seeing how, for example, the revenue stream is a function of your customer segment, and your customer segment, you can reach it based on the channels that you chose. So this is just to show you the particular interrelationships. And just a quick visual on a simple Starbucks or coffee shop business model, especially in the early days, where if you would follow the sequence of creating, delivering, capture value, you would start with the customer segment, which in this case were the coffee aficionados and mobile professionals who are coffee aficionados and they want to have their coffee on the run. And even students looking for that caffeine rush. The value proposition is being able to create unique coffee, co-creative with the customer. That's because the customer can customize or personalize his or her particular beverage. Yeah. Another value proposition is that the place becomes a third place between the home and office, particularly for people who are highly mobile, and it's a place to hang out. And then the relationship, of course, has to build loyalty. But that can only happen after creating your customers and continuing to maintain and build on loyalty. And the challenge, of course, traditionally are those retail stores. As you move from that level to your infrastructure on the left, starting with your key resources, you need skilled people. Of course, the brand is intellectual property, particularly trademark. You need to invest in that. So that's part of your cost resources below. And of course, your packaging and bottling plants. Your key partnerships, of course, with your supply chains, particularly your specialty customer growers and your specialized machine makers equipment, and your cost structure below. You need to spend on, as it says here, your marketing and R&D expenses, rentals for space, and of course, investments in people, and your revenue streams. Although in this case, it's particularly for retail sales. But if you can compute, as I mentioned, that lifetime value of the customer and see what multiples are between that and your cost structure, the higher the difference is, the better. But we already know that those in the premium coffee shops have not necessarily stayed on, especially with the result of the pandemic. A lot of them have shifted to, for example, e-commerce and online delivery as a response to the COVID. So I guess that ends my stint for business model. I guess there's a portion for Q&A, but that will follow shortly. Okay, that's it for now. Nestor Nisperos of Annual Labs, signing off.
We're speeding into the fast lane with Globe's 5G technology. It's fast, it's fun, it's wonderful. It's Kim Son-ho approved. With Globe 5G technology, the possibilities are endless. It's about time we inspire the youth to create something meaningful, spark reinventions, and improve the framework of the future. That's what the 5G Hackathon is about. Students, professionals, and startups are welcome to join the event by registering using this link. Once accepted, you may enjoy access to the Globe 5G Hackathon HQ, where the enablement workshops will happen. That's 2 weeks worth of fun workshops and mentorship by industry experts from our tech partners. All these to get you to the top. That doesn't end there. Apply what you've learned from the workshops and pitch your idea on how you can use 5G to improve the way we live. The panel will pick the top 30 semi-finalists to join the pitch competition and enjoy exclusive workshops and consultations with mentors. But if you're truly, madly, deeply at the top of your game, you can be chosen as part of the top 10 finalists who will proceed to the Hackathon Finals. 3 of the best pitches will be hailed as winners. What's in it for you? Well, over 500,000 pesos worth of prizes will be given away, plus a chance to be part of the Venture Builders program of 917's Venture Velocity and work directly with Globe 5G Acceleration Lab. This is powered by Globe and Animal Labs by DLSU. Thanks to 5G, we're about to achieve great heights. Click the link and show us what you've got. Get ready to reinvent your power to create change. Register now.
Do you wanna make a difference and reinvent your world? 네, 안녕하세요. 여러분, 김선호입니다. 샌드박스 같은 곳에서 경쟁하는 기분을 느껴보고 싶으신가요? 그렇다면 글로브 5G 해카톤에서 진행하는 워크숍과 멘토십을 통해 5G 활용 방법을 만들어보고 여러분의 친구, 동료들과 팀을 만들어서 디지털 시대 속 필리핀의 새롭고 흥미로운 가능성을 열어보세요. Follow your dream. Register now.
Every time the world spins round, reinvent 360. Thinking you gon' miss a good thing, yeah. And show the whole world. Reinvent, nobody to know sound. It's strong, ain't a good time. 1, 2, 3, ready to try. Why don't you watch me do my thing?
Take it to the next level with Globe's fiber, LTE advanced, and 5G mobile connection. Now you have the power to reinvent your world. Globe.
The new mind-blowing Surfer 99?
9 gig? All sites?
For all devices?
Shareable with up to 4 people?
Like my family? Anywhere they are?
The new mind-blowing Surfer All 99.
Dear Mother, light of the home.
Dad?
Hey, baby!
Greetings, Professor Rodolfo.
May I be absolved
From
Math Club tomorrow.
May Globe Virtual Hangouts kasi.
Go and hang out from wherever you are. Just open the Globe One app, choose an event, and click join.
Watch concerts online!
Woo! Dance together!
We can do quiz nights.
Yo, let's go! If you allow me,
I promise
To make it up to you.
And repay your kindness tenfold? Truly, your favorite child.
I love you, Dad.
please, babe.
Thank you, sir.
Enjoy your fave events with Globe Prepaid Virtual Hangouts. All together now.